Well, good evening once again. Day 1271 of the Trump administration, 113 days to go until our presidential election. The pandemic's grip on our country has been merciless, yet the White House is now enmeshed in what looks like an effort to try to sink Dr. Anthony Fauci, the scientist and doctor who has guided the country through pandemic threats under 6 presidents and is a recipient of the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Over 3.3 million people are infected that we know of. Over 136,000 lives have been lost. New cases are rising steadily, above 61,000 new cases just today. Dozens of states now reporting outbreaks. 19 states set new benchmarks this weekend. And it was in the midst of that these first reports started to emerge that the White House was not just trying to sideline Dr. Fauci, that's been going on for a while, but was now treating him like something of a political opponent. A document was sent around to reporters from anonymous White House officials laying out comments that Fauci made in the early days of the outbreak when little was known even by the experts, which those officials have tried to paint as inaccurate. The AP reports tonight, quote, Fauci's public contradictions of Trump have been viewed by the president as a personal affront and have caused some in the West Wing to sour on the doctor. The effort is part of a White House effort to counterpunch on behalf of Trump. Fauci has not commented on these reports, but he did continue to warn about this virus in an interview today with Stanford University.
Here it is. It's happened, your worst nightmare, the perfect storm. This is a really serious problem. It is truly historic. We haven't even begun to see the end of it yet. Until you get it completely under control, it's still going to be a threat.
Of course, wording like worst nightmare and perfect storm happens to contradict Trump's messaging today and nearly every day that, quote, we are doing a great job. Fauci also talked about these latest outbreaks.
We did not shut down entirely, and that's the reason why when we went up, we started to come down, and then we plateaued at a level that was really quite high, about 20,000 infections a day. Then as we started to reopen, we're seeing the surges that we're seeing today.
This morning, the President of the United States retweeted a conspiracy theory written by the noted infectious disease specialist Chuck Woolery. Actually, he's the former host of The Dating Game and Love Connection and is a celebrity spokesman for Blue Emu arthritis cream. Woolery wrote, and the president later distributed to the free world, quote, the most outrageous lies are the ones about COVID-19. Everyone is lying. The CDC, media, Democrats, our doctors, not all, but most, that we are told to trust. It's all about the election and keeping the economy from coming back, which is about the election. This afternoon, both Trump and the White House seemed to signal their support for Dr. Fauci.
I have a very good relationship with Dr. Fauci. I've had for a long time, right from the beginning. I find him to be a very nice person. I don't always agree with him. I closed the border, as you know, to China. I did the ban on China, heavily infected. And we saved tens of thousands of lives, and Dr. Fauci will admit that it was a good decision. It was very early. That was in January, long before it was thought of as the right thing to do. I get along with him very well. I like him personally.
There's no opposition research being dumped to reporters. We were asked a very specific question by the Washington Post, and that question was, President Trump noted that Dr. Fauci had made some mistakes, and we provided a direct answer to what was a direct question. Dr. Fauci and the president have always had a very good working relationship.
The New York Times reports and NBC News has confirmed that Fauci was back at the White House today, meeting with Trump's chief of staff, Mark Meadows. Pre-scheduled meeting, we're told. One topic that may have been under discussion, however, California's major rollback of its reopening efforts just today, including ordering all bars in the state closed. California's been averaging over 8,000 new cases a day as of Sunday. Florida reported over 12,000 new cases today. Yesterday, as you may know, Florida set a national pandemic record with more than 15,000 cases, the highest one-day total of any state. That goes to Florida. Today, the Florida governor was greeted with open anger as he started his daily briefing.
We came to Jackson in, I think, early March, when this pandemic was really starting to pick up steam. At that point, I don't even know if Miami-Dade had a case, a positive test, maybe a couple, but it was obviously much different than what we're finding here. So I think the
every day, and you are doing nothing.
So I think
falsifying information, and you are misleading the public. Over 4,000 people have died, and you are blaming the protesters. You guys have no plan, and you're doing nothing. Shame on you.
So
Ron DeSantis, an ardent Trump supporter, went on to say things had stabilized in Florida, stressed the need for faster COVID test results. Washington Post is reporting on nationwide delays, with some test sites struggling to provide results in 5 to 7 days, as they promise. In an op-ed for CNBC, former Trump chief of staff Mick Mulvaney complained, quote, "I know it isn't popular to talk about in some Republican circles, but we still have a testing problem in this country. My son was tested recently. We had to wait 5 to 7 days for results. My daughter wanted to get tested before visiting her grandparents, but was told she didn't qualify. This is simply inexcusable at this point in the pandemic." At this point, it is fair to quickly note Mulvaney once called the coronavirus a hoax. Now it's suddenly very real for him and his family. Yet both the president and his press secretary are still insisting the nation is far ahead on testing. Trump also repeated the false theory that testing is driving up the number of cases while seeming to try to blame his predecessor.
You've said many times that the number of coronavirus cases is going up because testing is increasing.
That's right.
Do you acknowledge that it's going up for other reasons too? For example, that it's actually spreading?
You know, Biden and Obama stopped their testing. They just stopped it. They stopped testing. Right in the middle, they just went, no more testing. We test more than anybody by far. And when you test, you create cases. So we've created cases.
As we've always said, that there would be embers, there would be fires. So when you're testing more than any country in the world, you're going to identify more cases.
A tiny fact check here. The coronavirus did not exist during the Obama administration. There was no test for it. Meanwhile, today came a significant setback to Trump's push to reopen our schools. The LA Unified and San Diego Public School Districts announced the school year will start remote only in August. President, of course, is blaming politics.
We have to open the schools. We have to get them open. And I think there's a lot of politics going along. I think they think they'll do better if they can keep the schools closed in the election. I don't think it's going to help them, frankly, but I think they feel that by keeping schools closed, that's a bad thing for the country, and therefore that's a good thing for them.
This afternoon, I asked the Secretary of Education under President Obama about the wisdom of reopening schools in a pandemic.
There is no body count high enough for the president to actually pay attention to science. We could lose another 10,000. We could lose another 50,000. We could lose another 100,000. Nothing would compel him to listen to Dr. Fauci and others who are actually fighting to try and save lives. And schools are not going to put teachers, principals, their children, or their children's families in a position of risk that's far too high. Do not pay attention to Trump. Don't be scared of his bluffs. He does not care whether you live or die. Pay attention to those local people who live in your community. Please listen to them.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.